Your waiting list to hire you as a consultant is what, like 2,500 people long right now? You have to multiply that by 2 or 3. Oh my God.
That's Paddy Galloway, the guy every top YouTuber is dying to hire. He's worked with Mr. Beast, Eric, Ryan Trahan, and more because he knows YouTube's algorithm like you people do. In this interview, Paddy shares his best tips that even helped Mr. Beast make better videos.
The conversation went from like, yeah, we're gonna hire you at some point to like, we want you now.
And Paddy reveals the biggest mistakes most YouTubers make without even realizing. I'm John Yushai, and welcome to another episode of Created.
You're very good at what you do.
Paddy, thanks for coming all the way from Ireland, man. It's great to have you on the show.
No problem. Pleasure to be here.
And just out of curiosity, what's your hourly rate if you feel comfortable sharing?
I would say in general, it's somewhere between $500 to maybe $1,000 an hour.
Who've been some of your clients in the past?
I mean, the most notable one is definitely Mr. Beast.
Yeah.
Worked with him for about 5 months last year, but also just essentially the biggest channels in different niches. In business, Noah Kagan. I've also worked with Jesser, Ryan Trahan, Eric. They've booked in with me over the years, and it's ultimately the best job imaginable for someone like me.
You mentioned Mr. Beast reached out. What was that initial interaction?
Basically, like I made a video on Jimmy in 2019.
Yeah.
And that video just went mega viral. And essentially since that moment, he just followed me on all my social medias. So he reached out to me, but it was very much left open-ended. Like, yeah, like we'll reach back out, we'll kind of get something together.
Yeah.
And then later that night, the same evening when he sent the DM, he just sent me this video that he wanted some feedback on, just some notes on. He was like, give me your perspective on it. It was like 3, 4 a.m. Irish time. I was so tired, but like when I got that message and he said,
maybe we should hire him to grow
I could
big.
do this the next morning.
My question
or do
is,
it right now.
he have a private channel I would like to visit.
He just rang me with another person on his team, and he's just like, basically, the conversation went from like, yeah, we're going to hire you at some point to like, we want you now, and that was how it happened, and it was great.
That's incredible. Yeah, their principles. That you've shared with him or with other creators that you think people who are starting out could benefit from?
I think the first thing is just really understanding who that audience is for us, like who our viewer is and what sort of videos they like.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of people try to put across maybe what they like and the interests they're in, and that's important. And I don't want a creator to feel like they can't, talk about their interests. Yeah. And then just looking at the videos we've made on the channel already and trying to find outliers. And that's really simple. It's just a simple question of, what are the 5 or 6 best performing videos I've made on my channel. Could I make them again in some form? Could I adapt them? Could I make a series out of this video? With Jesser going to 3 NBA games in 24 hours.
Yeah.
We've done that same video 4 times, probably going to go on 5, 6 times. Each time we just put a little twist. It's like playoff games instead of regular games. It's 7 games in 4 days instead of 3. It can kind of go infinitely like that. So, and then I would go across and say, let's look at our competitors. Let's just look at the broader YouTube scene and see if there's specific ideas that we think could work and that we could adapt to our niche and put our own spin on it. And then as well, I always like to leave some room for just kind of that like blue ocean, like innovation, like just random like idea that we can just apply. And I think the best creators are really good at that. Just almost like this original thought and taking it from there.
What's an example of the blue ocean?
I hate to be arrogant.
Yeah.
But I think the videos on my channel were pretty original.
Okay, tell us about those. Yeah.
So like I basically was sitting there and I was looking at YouTube advice content.
Why am I so obsessed to make my channel improve?
And then I saw other niches with like video essays around like engineering or like science. And I was like, what if we kind of combine these together? And that's like where the spark came. So yeah, that's very humble of me to say, but
no, I mean, I think like that Peter McKinnon video, when I interviewed Peter, was one of my biggest resources that I looked at.
Oh, really?
Absolutely.
Wow.
How many hours did you put into that video, the Peter McKinnon one?
I would say 50, 60 hours.
50, 60. And how long was the video? Like it was like
10 minutes.
10 minutes.
Yeah. Sometimes because I can be such a perfectionist, like I could spend like 30, I could spend a week on the intro.
Yeah.
Like just rewriting it.
Really?
Like there's a video I made recently that I ended up writing the intro of 12 times, and I recorded them all and I played them back to see which intro I thought hooked me the best.
What in that first draft are you unhappy with most times?
Usually it's wording, because I know I'm not a personality, so my words are what carries the story and how I make someone care about something. Because the way I almost think about the content I make, someone clicks that thumbnail and people are just, in general, people are just so arrogant, you know? Like, I just think people are arrogant. They're like, I know this, you know? Obviously, I know how Mr. Beast grew. It's all about money and giveaways, you know?
So hard work needed to be here.
You know?
Yeah.
Like the average person always thinks that. So like I just think, okay, when they click this video, I'm trying to get that person, the person who's there saying, yeah, I know this all, to suddenly go, oh wait, this sounds interesting. So to be like, you know, if I have language that's like, what did he discover in May of 2013? You know, instantly you're like, well, what is it he discovered? You know, as opposed to saying, Mr. Beast is a genius, he's so smart, here's some things he did, you know? Like thinking about that intriguing language is the biggest priority for me. So that's what I'm spending all that time on.
What's your best intro that you've done to date? Or best hook line?
I think it actually might be my first Mr. Beast video, because
Do you remember the line?
it basically it showed like a goofy video of Jimmy.
Yeah.
And it said like, if I told you this guy was a YouTube genius, you'd probably laugh in my face. That was the first line. And it's kind of genius, because you look at the time, Jimmy wasn't considered this like super obsessive genius as much as he is now. So like saying that, like I knew people would click on that video and go like, look at this kid just throwing away money.
Yeah.
He's crazy. So I played into that. And then I kind of made them feel, oh wait, but there's more to this story. So I think that's probably my best one. Or like, you know, another one I did was, Graham Stephan is one of the smartest YouTubers, but not for the reason you might think. And you're like, oh, why is it? I need to know. Yeah.
That's amazing. When you work with your clients, what do you find you talked about your own process. What are the mistakes that they make on their intros? Or do you ghostwrite people's intros as well?
Yes, I do quite a lot.
You do ghostwrite intros. How do you think about like what makes a good intro for them? Or if they show you a draft, what are the most common things you're fixing?
So even like, take Noah Kagan, who's that client of mine. I ghostwrite some of their intros.
Yeah.
And like he had this video where he was talking about how he started the business he currently has, which is like this, you know, 9-figure business.
Yeah, AppSumo.
AppSumo.com.
Yeah.
Like the video was about how he started that in a weekend. And like, I think the original draft hook that we were working with was something more about like, you know, what if I told you that you could start a business in a weekend that could go on to be really successful. That was my story. You know, we went back, blah, blah, blah. And it just kept going on about like this kind of unnecessary context. And I was like, you know, I started, you know, a $200 million business in 1 weekend, you know, like just kind of like giving that punch straight away and not playing into this kind of like trying to be guarded and like, you know, and I think some of it comes across from people not wanting to be irritating or not wanting to be like too braggadocious.
Yeah.
But with YouTube, you know, you don't have the liberty to like, you need to be like, bang, you know, and to hit them with something interesting.
Sounds like another trend is numbers. Like I made a multi-million-dollar, no, tell us exactly how many millions that company was worth and how many days, or diving into like that day, everything changed.
The best example of this is if you make a video, this won't be true every single time. If you make a video of like passive income, how to make $300 a day, and then you change the title to be like how to make 295 a day or something. It's there's something about it that just feels more real. It's like if you say like jobs that can make you 100K a year. What about if you say jobs that can make you 125,000 a year?
Yeah.
It's just different. And it just makes people sort of stop and go like, oh, there's definitely something interesting about here. You know, if someone said, here's how I became worth $1 million, it's quite like, I mean, that's impressive.
Yeah.
And it's pretty cool. But if someone said like,
Real quick, in this interview, Patty covers a lot of mistakes that creators make in their YouTube videos. But you know what's one of the biggest mistakes of all? Not using mainstream music. Now, before you go saying, John, but if I use mainstream music in my YouTube videos, won't I just get demonetized? Well, that's where I have to tell you about the sponsor of today's video, Lickd. Lickd is a platform that lets you use mainstream music in your videos without worrying about copyright strikes. I mean, they have over 1 million tracks from huge artists like Justin Bieber to Oliver Tree, because playing music from people that are already recognized and makes your content suddenly feel more familiar, so your audience is more engaged. So Lickd is really your ticket to better content and better performance. And to show just how good their service is, Lickd is offering new users 14 days of free stock music and 50% off your first mainstream chart track. So if you haven't already signed up, head to my link in the description to claim your discount while the offer still lasts and take your content to the next level. All right, back to the video.
here's how I make $400,000 a year, or how I make $45,000 a month, you instantly say this is real. It's not just someone saying I'm a millionaire. He's going to break down exactly what's behind those numbers.
Yeah, there's some calculation that went into it. Take me through your thumbnails. Like, you're very efficient about it.
It's important to have brand recognition for someone to instantly recognize, oh, that's a Paddy Galloway thumbnail. So I found a concept that works, which is the graph. And then I just said, okay, this works. I still have something that changes every time, the face of the YouTuber. So there's still something different every time. And also have space to put something different in the text every single time.
You definitely have a brand. Like, and I think like when I see that, I'm like, okay, that's a Paddy video.
I was saying I should have worn a white t-shirt with a big red graph.
You gotta sell that merch. That would have been hilarious. And talk about like how something about like breaking or broke, I feel like is another like big word.
It's a strong word.
What, how did you come up with that? Like the wording in the thumbnail, like even like how X broke YouTube, or like it's comes up in a lot of your titles.
So I saw, again, I talk a lot about studying high performing concepts. I saw this thumbnail concept on, I think it was the Wall Street Journal, and it was like the man who solved the stock market. And I was like, that's pretty interesting, solve the stock market. But then I was like, let's make it YouTube. So the man who solved YouTube, it's okay. It's not the strongest, like it doesn't, and it's also a bit long, solved. The man who beat YouTube. It just sounds more aggressive, more in your face. The man who broke YouTube, you know? And like me and anyone that knows me as an actual individual and clients, they know I'm very balanced and I don't like to be kind of too sensational with how I think about YouTube. But like, you got to play that game. You got to like say, Mr. Beast broke YouTube. You don't want to say Mr. Beast gave YouTube exactly what they wanted. You want to be like, he smashed YouTube.
That's interesting advice, because I think there's a lot of people who won't cross that line or even know it.
I'm trying to make a video that I can put in front of my mother, my younger brother, a 10-year-old, a YouTuber with 50 million subscribers, a YouTuber with 100 subscribers. So if I'm going to do that, I have to really, really focus on what's the most interesting way to word this. And if I just said like, you know, how Ryan Trahan did a great job, you know, it's just not as interesting. It's
Yeah.
like Ryan Trahan changed YouTube forever. you know?
Yeah. I show a lot of my videos to my dad now. And,
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, and I showed him this intro I wrote for my Peter McKinnon interview, and he didn't get it, and we changed it completely.
Awesome.
Yeah, so I think, talking to different demographics, even though you should have a niche, is important.
Yeah, for sure.
Patty, how do you balance storytelling and like obsessing over analytics?
Sometimes look past retention curves. That almost sounds sacrilegious, me saying the retention guy, but sometimes it's about looking past retention curves and saying like, yeah, this might actually lead to a 2% dip, but 2% dip, that means maybe 98% of people that still watched after that point.
Yeah.
If it added something to them, it's still beneficial. And I think as YouTubers, we sometimes have a bias towards micro drops in
Yeah.
retention and not the full video. I think that's really important to consider.
Yeah, so it's maybe like a short-term loss, but a long-term gain because they learned something
Exactly.
about you as a result of that.
Exactly.
Does short form change a lot about like how you think about like video, or do you think it's just another extension, another part of the buffet?
I almost think of shorts as intros. You know, they're like intros, except they have to have a conclusion. You know, so like if you even, it's actually a good like proxy. If you have a YouTube video and you look at your first sort of 30 seconds, and if you say to yourself, if I cut this and put it on TikTok or YouTube Shorts, like could it do well? And if it could, like you've probably got a really good intro on your hands. You know, so. I think they coexist. I think it's the same game. It's just condensed down to a much shorter time period.
Are there ways like that creators can like test formats like beyond just like texting friends, or like get like that feedback? Like I'm curious, like I saw on Noah Kagan's channel, he now has this format where he goes up to people's homes, rings their doorbell, and asks how they
Yes.
made money. Did you help with that, by the way?
Of course. Of course, like,
Okay, wait, take me through. How did that come about? It's such a fascinating problem. I was hooked when I saw that.
I just helped them with the title, and then I gave them the thumbnail concept
Okay.
to use for it.
Which is it was somebody opening the door.
Yes.
And Noah like on one side, and the text about like how do you make your money, or how do you make like
It's, in my opinion, humble opinion,
Yeah.
it's just a really good concept. Like you
Yeah.
look at it and it just makes you want to click to see that exact moment.
Do they post for that, by the way? Does like Noah like take a step back and like ask the person to open the door? And
Of
like,
course, of course. Like the fun story about that thumbnail is the person in the thumbnail is not even in the video.
What?
It's an actress, I should say.
oh my God, they're not in the video.
And here's the funny thing: not a single comment that I noticed anyway on a video that has 3.5 million views. I didn't see a single comment saying, "Where was this person?" Because if you deliver someone that's just really interesting, they click it and they get a great video, they're not going to feel cheated because it's like, this is such a great video.
You just blew my mind. Wow, I'm gonna go back. So that person, so Noah hires an actor and they act out.
I mean, usually we try to pick the person in the video,
yeah.
but like basically, I can't remember exactly how it went down, but I'm pretty sure I wasn't happy with like the original source, and we just got some extra source and we worked like that. But like most of the videos we do use people actually in the video.
Yeah, but still, I mean, the length you go through, because I think like I got a ton of value watching that.
Yeah.
So the thumbnail worked.
Like you didn't even notice that.
I didn't even notice until you said it.
Exactly.
Yeah, that is fascinating. Wow. Okay, cool. Were there any other concepts you were behind, like from Noah's channel or other?
Hi, I'm Dr. David Costa, the Dean here at Robert Kennedy College in Zurich, Switzerland.
Channels that you work with across different verticals?
Yeah, I mean, like with Noah, like we've basically, since working with him, we've just like Noah and Jeremy, who's the producer on Noah's team, they've just been fully bought into the philosophy I like with YouTube, which is being really selective. So like Noah and Jeremy and other people on the team will brainstorm ideas, and I'll come in and brainstorm ideas too. And we'll just go through and just kind of score them and say, this is something we should do. Like, this is a big swing. And I think sometimes the most valuable thing I can do with the team is just set standards. And just say, like, you know, a question we might ask is, could this video get 1 million views? If it can't, why are we making it? The funny thing is when you start working with people and you start getting on the same wavelength, Jeremy, the producer, was like, I'd love to see some ideas, like any idea. That we should do on the channel. I brainstormed 5 or 6 ideas. He had already brainstormed basically the same ideas. We made those videos, and like the two of us came to it completely independently. And those videos have like there's one with 3 million, there's one with I think nearly like 3.5, 4 million views.
Which one? What are the videos?
There was one which was asking super yacht owners how to make $1 million.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Asking supercar owners how to make $1 million. Asking retired millionaires how to make $1 million. And like each of those videos has over 1 million views.
So I think you make income in so many different ways. And we have a segment on the show where we ask people to draw their income. So I wanted to bring out a pie chart.
Oh, here we go.
Here we go.
I think starting with YouTube AdSense.
Okay.
Because that's the most obvious one people think of.
Yeah.
And for me, it's actually quite small. It's not a huge proportion of my income. I get pretty good RPMs on my channel.
Yeah.
But I would say on my total income, it's probably about 10%.
Okay.
So
Draw it in, like go ham.
So I would say another revenue source, another smaller one would be speaking, which I'll use the other one for.
Yeah.
So like recently I've realized that a lot of corporations, a lot of big Fortune 500 companies, they don't know how to do YouTube. And they're like, okay, who can I get to talk about YouTube?
Yeah.
So I've done a few speaking gigs recently, which have been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So I would say that's another 10%.
Okay, amazing.
So let me work that one out.
Yeah.
So that would be down here.
Actually, how do you think about that for like corporations who are trying to make it on YouTube? We talked a lot about creators, but how would you does your advice change for brands and corporations?
I think you can't try to be down with the kids. I know that's like cliche.
You can't be down with the kids.
You can't don't try to like emulate what Airrack or Mr. Beast are doing. I'll just say straight up, and this is free advice for companies. Like if you're trying to recruit someone, like YouTube is YouTube is one of the first place people go to learn about a job. So like, why don't a big company hire me to create a video with them where it's like going through the day in the life of like a person at that company? Now that video, if it's packaged well, it's titled well, and it doesn't come across corporate. It comes across like, this is what a day in the life of a software engineer at X is like. That video could get 100,000 views.
Yeah.
I know how much these companies struggle with recruitment.
Yeah.
That could be 100,000 eyeballs to actually, recruit on that.
Oh, that's amazing. You heard it here first. That's because I was going to ask a follow-up of like how to as a Fortune 500 company that's faceless, like personify their brand. And you just answered it by walking through the daily life of an executive.
Use the employees. Like
the employees.
People make companies. Like these massive companies, their brand name, but really it's the people behind them. And I never get to see that. Like I have no idea who like the senior executive at XYZ is, or like, an entry level engineer. Like I don't know who these people are, but it would be interesting, especially if you are wanting to get into that industry.
That's fascinating.
I think
cool. That's great. So speaking events, what else? How else do you make your money?
Affiliates. Okay. So I have a few different affiliates schemes. I work with some software companies for YouTube. I would say it's about 10% of the total.
And then take us through the big one.
So we've got consulting.
Yeah.
Now this is obviously the main part of my business.
Yeah.
So I work with about 7 different creators and one massive Fortune 500 company as well, which I'll leave unnamed.
Fair
they're
enough.
very big.
Yeah.
So I do a lot of consulting work there. So I would say this is approximately 50% of my income.
It's a big chunk. So let's just do a big, that's a very crooked line.
What's the remaining chunk?
I would say the remaining chunk is all brand deals.
Okay.
So obviously when you make YouTube videos that get a lot of views, brands reach out. And the benefit of what I do is if you're a company that wants to work in the YouTube space, there's not many creators that can pull the audience that I do.
Yeah.
If you're like a Minecraft channel and a game reaches out to you and you say, I want X amount, they'll be like, okay, I'll just go to the next Minecraft YouTuber. Whereas I can like negotiate better.
Absolutely.
So brand deals do make up a big chunk
Yeah.
of my income. So
Do you negotiate for yourself? Do you have a manager?
I do it all myself.
You do it yourself?
Yes. Because I just post so few videos. Like if I was doing, let's say, weekly videos, I'd get a manager.
Yeah.
But I do it myself because
Yeah.
I like negotiation.
And can you give us a ballpark? Like, what is that? Like a range or anything? If you feel comfortable, like how much that represents?
As a total 100%.
Yeah.
Per month. I would say per month, probably it fluctuates between maybe 50,000 to about closing in on 100,000.
Take us through what's the future of the creator economy? Where is it going? You have so much insight on it. I just thought we'd go there to end.
It's interesting. When I go and work with a creator, quite often the first note I have is, hold on a minute, let's add more depth here. Like we're too fast, you know, which is, you know, people just assume, oh, he loves retention. He wants like bang, 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 bang.